Hi everyone. We already have 5 people in the room.
5 people.
I know. We just barely
or
started.
aren't. Because we're not even in the room yet.
We're not even in the room yet. We're having issues here.
We're having
people.
issues.
It's okay.
Sorry.
We are live. That's amazing.
Okay.
We accidentally went live already. So bear with us, people. This is real life. Hello,
all that being
Rose.
said, we already have one. Rose,
I don't know. I have no idea. But what?
Sorry, we're trying to figure this out. It's on my YouTube channel now, so
you got it just fine, Danny. That was good. I thought you deleted that one though, but that's all right. Okay, well that's fine. So
all right, we're officially.
If you look at hi Terry.
Funny.
If you look at what is so funny, no, it's funny because we were trying to like get Automotive Book Club live, like our stream going a little bit earlier, and we had a little whoopsie and we accidentally went live when we weren't intending on going live.
I have big thumbs and I held the phone and we went live.
We went live.
We
That's fine. It was unintentional live.
Well, hold on, cheers. Cheers. Now it's official.
Cheers. It is now official.
Terry.
In
you know the glass.
In our special glasses.
You know, yes. Thank you.
Welcome back to Automotive Book Club Live. It has been a while. So we have a lot to cover tonight. So we're going to ask you some questions. We're going to talk about some themes. And I just have to say, like, Smokey, every time I read this book, Smokey, I feel like it's almost as good as, like, reading the Bible in a sense that, like, you really do learn how to become, like, a better person, I feel like, through the lessons of Smokey Yunick. And that's not just being a fan, but...
I know I've said this before, and I get kind of weird looks. I said, it's like reading the Bible because you get a different message every time, kind of. And I know we're not really going there, but it is... But it is true. He has messages that...
Right now, I think that if God hears us comparing Smokey's book to the Bible, he's, like, legitimately pissed right now.
And I do believe that God has a sense of humor. He understands what the intent. The intent. And you don't really... It's kind of a surprise. You think you're going to read Smokey the book and it's going to be an automotive book and I want to join, but that really, whatever. It's more than that. Yes, it's an automotive book.
It's way more than
the history.
Yes, this is automotive history for sure. Oh, especially in this chapter too. Like with this particular chapter that we're covering today. Obviously, we have a little bit of catching up to do from before this, but the main chapter we're going to be covering today is 50 good drivers and a basshole. And thankfully, we got the basshole covered right off the get-go. Jim Rathman is by far the biggest basshole he's ever come across. But especially in this chapter where we sort of learn about all the key players in Smokey's life and also in the history of NASCAR and Indy and circle track and like there's so much of like the beginning in this part of the book. So hello lawnmower. All 14 seconds. Lawn watched all 14 seconds of our previous book club live stream. That's fine.
It was the world's quickest book club live stream.
Yeah, that's fine. It was testing 1, 2, 3.
Yes, we were just
testing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. So we got that out of the way.
And it worked. Y'all are here.
Yeah.
So y'all did transform, translate, move over to here.
This one, yes.
And we're getting a lot of good people. So everybody's here. So Dave Johnson, how you doing? Happy Friday.
So can I just say, like, let's just quickly before we get into 50 good drivers and a basshole, who was amazed by the chapter that was just randomly in here about Smokey's boat racing history? I feel like that could have been someone's entire career, and it was like a couple pages in this book for Smokey. Like
I never knew. I do not know everything about Smokey. Everything I know a lot, but I learned something all the time.
He does not know everything about Smokey.
But the boat racing, and he actually even raced the boat.
Yes.
How about the
he
one
did
on
race the boat? Yeah.
So that is very interesting that he was even doing boat race. Which you look back at it and you think, oh well, why wouldn't he? Why wouldn't he be doing that?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, right, because the race boats had flathead fords in them. So it was Smokey's wheelhouse anyway. But yeah, like I don't understand how Smokey did so much. I look to Smokey and I'm like, I'm a slacker. Like I could never keep up to what Smokey did. And I think at some point in the chapter of 50 Good Drivers and a Basshole, he does actually talk about the extremely long days that he pulled. We'll come up to it at some point, but there's something.
I wanted to do a week in Smokey's footsteps. Just try to do 1 week.
No way.
I always fail because the first day I'm ready. I'm ready to quit. He worked a full day.
Yeah.
At the shop, and I thought, well, we could do that. We can work all day long here, and then when we leave here, go home, and then put the afternoon hours in the hot rod shop. Working on the car.
Yeah.
How?
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 And that's the thing too. it's like I constantly, you know, as a full-time technician, it is so hard to then go back home to your home shop and work on a project that's even like, you know, something that you totally like love and care about.
And then have the mentality to do it. He would
and
go,
do
he would
it
go
well.
home, he would eat something, take a 30-minute nap, and then go back and work the hot rod shop.
Engineering, like to, right?
And then
like,
at the early days, they did Seagrams. They did Seagram 7, like, all, anyway.
And I don't even know what that means, but it sounds...
It's a drink. It's liquor. It's, you know, in the early days, that's what he just drank. They just drank Seagram
hard
7.
Liquor?
Yeah. It was a bottle of Seagram, and that's all.
I could not imagine drinking hard liquor and then working on cars. No. Oh, here we go. Page 199. Man, that was a struggle. 20 hours a day, 7 days a week for 5 months with about 10 all-nighters thrown in. You know, when you qualify at Indy, you return to qualifying ceremony area, you've got to pass all the competitors. Okay. Yeah, so that was the part where we sort of talked about getting ready for one of the races. He was building something, that was with Jerry Carl. But yeah, so I don't know if you just barely got this book and you're catching up, I just want to say that I want you all to start at page 149 and just read the chapter Racing with One Arm. It's only a couple pages long, and it is so funny. It is so funny how he just talks about, like, first his opinion of, like, people that race boats, and he's like, oh, these, like, sissies in their boats, like, these fancy people on their yachts, their racing yachts, or, like, whatever. And then by the end, how does that guy even lose an arm?
I think he got thrown from the boat.
Thrown from the boat.
His own boat ran him over.
His own boat runs him over. He loses an arm. So then Smokey ends up like racing the boat last minute, and then he's like, "Well, that's it.
Yeah.
I'm no longer calling these guys sissies." Basically.
Yeah, he thought that was really crazy.
Yes.
And he had been in IndyCar, NASCAR, and everything else, and all of a sudden he's like, "These guys are crazy."
Right, and don't forget, this is also like, he is still having his fun in Ecuador at this time as well, and still doing some timber stuff, as we see later. Was it with AJ Foyt, I think, that he ends up doing like some more timber sales stuff in Ecuador, and then working for all of these different automotive manufacturers. It's like, man, as so many of you know, like, I'm trying so desperately to, like, you know, work for and with Toyota, and it's like, it's a full-time job, just like trying to groom them and like show them, like, hey, you guys, like, I'm worth your time. Here Smokey's like telling them basically to like cluck off. He's going from like one manufacturer to the other, pitting them against each other. Also the tire manufacturers sort of like pitting Firestone and Goodyear against each other for like all this testing stuff.
And he's building an Indy car.
Yeah.
He's building NASCAR, that's pretty phenomenal in itself. But it's not just NASCAR. He's building Indy cars, and he's building the cars there in the shop. Yes. I mean, he's all over the place in building things, and he's building engines for different manufacturers. I mean,
and then showing up at the races, and then doing well. And sometimes, as we've seen throughout this chapter, he would step in and race some of the cars too. So it's like, you know,
he actually did. Yes.
And one thing I keep on noticing, like, when he's talking about all these racers, is he's mentioning how, like, a lot of them, like, you know, one of the qualities that you need to have to be a racer is to be, like, allergic to work. So a lot of times you'll see the racers will just sort of come in and race and then leave, you know? There's one of them in this chapter, and I forget exactly which racer, but Smokey sort of, like, pays homage to him and the fact that, like, you know, he didn't know anything about cars, he didn't work on the cars, but when he left, he would always, like, sort of apologize to Smokey, and I think was it Ralph Johnson that was working with Smokey at the time? Mm-hmm. He would, like, sort of apologize to, like, Smokey and Ralph and be like, you guys have so much work to do. Like, I'm so sorry for all the work they have to do. Like, I'm so sorry for all the damage I did. And then later on, like, the next morning, he would come in to race again, and he'd be, like, thanking them for all the work. And, you know, Smokey noticed that sort of stuff.
And Smokey did say that about Ralph. Ralph, and he partied really, you know, right up there with Smokey, but he didn't miss going to work. Yes. A few times he fell asleep at the table. A few times, he said. Yes. But this is, you know, there are whole stories of Ralph Johnson of partying all night long with 2 hours of sleep. But he did hold his own. He partied hard, but he worked hard.
And we got a little bit of Ralph, I think, in this chapter. But it's just like, it was a little bit, because I remember him saying at some point, like, that we're gonna see a lot more of Ralph, sort of like later on in the chapter, or later on in the book rather. So hopefully we'll see something positive about Ralph Johnson, because so far we've just seen like a bunch of negative stuff, which is not the way that you remember him. Yeah. And Tony, our friend Tony, has, you know, told stories about Ralph, and, you know, didn't really seem to have a negative view of him either. So
about the only really the negative that he had is that Ralph could have been and should have been the head of General Motors.
A head engineer, lead engineer.
And he could have even been the head of but he
didn't play the games.
He didn't play the games.
Which I like.
You got to play the games to move up. At a certain point, he just wouldn't play the games.
Wouldn't play along with the bureaucracy and the politics, which I really appreciate. It's like, how many people in our lives do we know that like have so much talent and so much capability, but just aren't marketable people, right? Or like that won't play the game in order to get where they need to get. Well, and there's quite a lot. I mean, even something that we're talking about, it's like, you know, you never want to be like disingenuous or unauthentic. So there's that line that you got to toe to find sponsors and people that will support your work.
You still got to pay the bills.
You still have to pay the bills. So you have to find people to support your work.
And it may be something that you don't really
And you don't want it to be on your fans or your viewers or your subscribers.
And then somebody comes up and says, well, I'll give you a lot of money to talk about my product, and you know in your heart you don't really like it.
Right, but if you don't like the product, so it's like, you know, I mean, that's why you see with Danny and eBay, it's like he eats, sleeps, and breathes eBay. And that's a true, like, genuine, like, that's a match made in heaven for sponsorship. Just like me and Toyota.
I was about to say, you and Toyota.
So, yeah, exactly. I mean, that's where something makes sense, because you know that, like, those are things that we've diehard loved before we ever started, YouTubing or anything like that. So, so that's, I feel like, where a lot of these folks are coming from too. You know, they have their way of life. A lot of them, you know, like, it's like Curtis Turner. Curtis Turner was a simple, down-to-earth, true Southerner. It's like, you know, you can't, you know, you can take the farmer off the farm, but, you can't take the farmer out of the farmer, I guess. I don't know. It's like, they are who they are. I love learning about these characters and seeing,
and what a character.
Curtis Turner.
Curtis.
Oh,
yes. He flew his own plane.
Oh my God, the pilot.
The pilot. He was the pilot, and landing in the streets by a red light or.
Okay, I'll read from page 166. Curtis was a darn good pilot, but very careless and with some dangerous flying habits. He had a twin-engine plane that we were going to use to go to Rockingham from Charlotte. I was at the plane first and found one fuel tank missing the tank cap. It's raining, so I'm gonna drain the tank. He shows up, half drunk, and says, the water goes to the bottom. You've drained enough, let's go. Well, the weather is very bad, and I'm flying because he don't feel too good. He's hungover. I start going down the runway behind an Eastern jet, and as I become airborne, I notice that all the vacuum instruments are out. The artificial horizon, turn and bank, rate of climb, etc. I pull the throttles back, but he rams them back in and says, they'll start working in a couple minutes. I say, you fly it. I don't know how without instruments. He takes over in a couple of minutes, everything is working. Another time, he has a new plane, twin engine. We're in Florence, South Carolina, both drinking, looking for two certain women. We can't find them. Oh, no, we do find them. We find them in bed with a couple other race car drivers. So Curtis wants to go back to Charlotte and start a brand new party at his house on Freedom Drive. Well, the weather's real bad. It's raining like heck with thunderstorms all around. We get the two women dressed and add in Ray Fox. Somehow he shows up needing a ride to Charlotte. We got one passenger too many. Get to the Florence airport and it's dark now. The airport is closed to commercial flying. No runway lights. Turner now is so drunk he slides off the front of the wing twice, trying to get into the plane. So he decides that I fly. Well, I've never seen one of these things before, and I'm not too sober either, but I figure I got a better chance than him to make it. So off we go on a 45-degree path across ditches, runways, and taxi strips. I get her in the air, but I can't find the landing gear razor upper. By the time I find it, I notice I'm about 100 feet from going through the roof of a motel that says that little Joe is staying at. Sure, I make it, but I collected quite a few pine needles, branches, etc. How I got to Charlotte? Well, I don't know. It was a really rough trip, thunderstorms all the way. I find the airport and get clearance just about in time. Turner comes, he's been passed out, and all of a sudden I see power lines. The tower is hollering, pull up, pull up. I ask Turner, over or under? He says, under. No way in heck I could have gotten over that quick. Well, I heard and felt some unusual things while going under that power line. There were big trees all around. The moral of the story is they actually were about to get in like some crazy trouble, but turns out that the people that stopped them, who were at the landing strip, they happened to be Smokey fans. They liked racing, so they happen to know who Smokey and Curtis Turner were, and thankfully let them go. So that was a pretty. You all right there? Okay.
I don't want to
Hang
camera. I'm going to cough. Come back.
Okay. So anyway, that. Oh, he's oh no, he's leaving me to my own devices. Oh, goodness gracious.
He's leaving you to your own devices because he came back sick.
Oh my God.
Him.
Wait, I didn't know he was sick. I thought he just had allergies. Oh God.
I mean, it's not contagious, obviously, because we sit in the same chair at home. You know this.
That's true.
Like crazy.
Oh no, I have cedar. Oh, you have oak. I have cedar fever that I was struggling with last time. Oh,
I thought it was cedar, and then my beautiful wife tells me it's oak.
Oh, it is oak. Okay, maybe something.
It's falling from the sky.
The same thing when I came back from Tennessee, I got like super I got all like congested and stuff like that, and I'm like, oh my God, I'm sick. But then I just remembered that it was oak, the cedar rather. So I was struggling through my live stream on Friday, but that was fine. So yeah, Curtis Turner was like such a character, as was Fireball.
And then flying like crazy, like drunker than
yeah.
Now we know from earlier in the readings that Smokey could fly, just about everything.
Oh my gosh.
We didn't even see that. We're going to Harbor Freight.
Hell yeah, we'll take it. Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No. That we know from earlier readings that Smokey could fly anything.
Yeah.
And he did.
Yes.
So he pretty much, and he could fly with no instruments. He was a natural. He could just fly. He just knew instinctively, which is left or east, west, or however you fly.
Yeah.
So he was really good at that.
Right.
Yes. So.
But Curtis not so much. And I think later on he gets his.
That's how he dies.
Yes. That's what it was.
He loses his license because they land on the street.
Right. He loses his license. So then he gets married. Then he gets his wife a license. So then he flies with his wife's license.
Yes, that's right.
Yes. And then, could you imagine but that story of him being so crazy and reckless, that's a lot of people from this era. That's a lot of early racers. Nowadays, you think of like a race car driver and they are like athletic fit. Like they work out. They've got
their diet.
They watch their exactly.
Back then, they were outlaws.
Back then, they were outlaws, and clearly Curtis Turner.
Everybody get in a room and get in a pile thing. Yeah, they lived recklessly all the way around.
Yes, a lot of yes. I would agree.
So
but yes,
y'all didn't know that is how he dies.
Yes, and actually, and what's interesting is that he had retired from racing, I believe, at that point. And he was having a hard time, maybe because of an injury, I can't really quite remember. And he was having a hard time making money, and he'd always sort of like made money, had like a side biz with timber stuff. So Smokey, he was having a hard time with money. He reached out to Smokey and was like, "Hey, Smoke, need some help." And so Smokey was like, "Well, I know I don't give you money, but I'll help you." I mean, he gave plenty of people money, but he was gonna set him up with a timber deal down in Ecuador, just like he had been doing. And it's so interesting. It's like such a sign of the times. Like Smokey didn't know. He was waiting for Curtis at the airport and didn't find out about Curtis. Like was wondering like, this guy's like late. He's like super late. And then he picks up a newspaper in the airport, and the newspaper headline says local racer dies in airplane crash. And he was like, "Oh, okay, he's not coming."
And I think he always knew that he was going to die in a plane crash. He's kind of like Smokey knew. Like you're doing things like you said. You've been way too lucky way too many times.
Yes. Yeah. Yes. Exactly. Speaking of like lucky way too many times, also Fireball Roberts.
What did Bob Miller say? I'm sorry.
I'm so sorry.
Curtis
Turner taught me how to fly a Blanca 310. He told me the smell was aftershave. Damn. Wait, what?
Okay,
Is
Bob
that
Miller.
for real?
Yeah. I don't know Bob Miller.
I have no idea.
But it's pretty cool. So Curtis Turner taught you how to fly.
Oh my God, David Johnson's asking if we said the chicken timers. We totally forgot.
We're so out of practice.
We are so out of practice. All right, well, Danny, the time is now.
I'm going to go for 30 minutes.
Why isn't Brian here to remind us?
I don't know. Maybe he didn't know that we're doing Danny's channel today.
Well, people should pay attention.
Right, seriously.
All right.
Okay.
And we'd like to hear a little bit more of Bob's story, but we'll get to that.
Yeah, well, later. He might be Bobby Johns. Oh, no, wait, he's Bob Miller. Okay, we don't have a Bob Miller in this book just yet.
Yeah.
Another interesting character, Fireball Roberts. One thing that I thought was really interesting about, like, just Smokey's character in general, and I think this is something we've talked about before, but Smokey had an incredible intuition, and he, like, really paid attention. I think it was one of the things that made him such a good pit crew captain or, crew chief, was his ability to really, like, gauge the drivers and pay attention to the drivers. So he could tell when someone was on the edge of retirement, and he would call it. He would tell people, and he lost a couple of friendships, but gained them back eventually. What did I like about Smokey is like he would tell people how it was. They would get in like a fight. They would go separate ways, and then they'd forgive. It's not like, I feel like the type of people back then in the racing industry, or like in this, we're so different than people now, where people now, like, they hold grudges forever. Is it just me? Like, people hold grudges, like, they're sour. They hold on to stuff.
I tell everybody all the time, right now, we need Smokey Yunick. We need to read his books. We need to all start, I don't want to get into, we need to start something like Smokey Yunick, because there's a lot of things that he did, but when he wrote about him, he didn't write him to glorify what he did. He told you a story, he got to the end of the story, and he told you how wrong it was, and he told you why he did it, and the whole, like I said, it's a message behind it.
Yep.
Well, what did he do? He did not like? A liar.
Yep, he did not like a liar.
He even forget, and every single person at the end, he forgave him. He didn't hold a grudge. He understood a person. He'd rather have you be a ship butt or whatever you want, but at least I know who you are and where you're coming from.
Yeah.
You to tell me all this stuff, and then you go around in board meetings and you talk bad about me or whatever. He had no place for that.
Right.
So he was more of right to it. I'd rather have you, like I said, slap me or tell me something. I can handle the truth.
Yeah.
So we need more of just, today's days, more people just need to be honest. And anyway, I don't need to go into that, but we need more Smokey Yunick today more than ever.
And I want to.
And we need more
my God,
James.
Thank you, James. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. So I appreciate you so much. Cheers to James. Cheers to James.
Cheers to James.
Which is really nice of James, because he's been waiting on his 304 Jeep V8 for a little bit, and it's in the back. And I talked to him about it earlier and invited him to show up, and he did.
And he's here.
James! That's awesome! Oh my gosh! Wow! So James is getting one of your engines.
Yes, the AMC motor, the blue one, AMC V8 390, which is weird because I've done a little bit of posting on it, just stuff. Now the phone's been ringing. 390 AMC guys are just coming out of the walls because people don't know how to work on AMCs, or even have never seen one.
Well, James, you are blessed, and I think you know that, so you don't mind being patient, because that's what.
Patient, yes.
He is very patient.
I mean, that's how things happen around here. You don't get things tomorrow, because good things take time, and only good ship comes out of this place. So anyway, but to your point though, that's something that I don't know if y'all were sort of noticing that in this chapter, but that was something that I was taking stock of as he was talking about people. I was like sort of forming in my head, like, what sort of people, like, what does Smokey Yunick consider a good human? A good human. He doesn't like liars. And there was something a little later on in this chapter where he talked about good people. I magically turned to the page. I was not expecting that. Page 193. Sam was what I called good people. Never put anybody down, didn't complain or make excuses. Sam tried to get through life being friends with everybody and did a good job of it. And I think that was right after. Sam! Sam was the one that was the good racer that was allergic to work as well. But would thank Ralph and Smokey for all the hard work they did. So thank you, Sam. But this is interesting because this was a part of the chapter where they were doing an experiment. Was it in Indy? I think it was. Let me just make sure. It was something about figuring out a new way of setting everybody up.
The amazing thing is...
the 74 Indy. For Sammy and I was a weirdo deal. One qualifying weekend instead of the usual two. So they cut down on qualifying, and I think it was because like there was a storm coming in or something like that.
Yes, it was a storm, and it wasn't fair. That's right.
Yep, I drew a bad qualifying number, about like 68. It rained both qualifying days. We were sitting with the engine running when the 6:00 p.m. gun went off, and we never got a shot at it. To be honest, I say we had at best a 50% chance to bump our way in. Some competitors who felt that they were screwed in the experience wanted to sue, and Sam and I had the perfect case. So he decided to like talk to Sam about it, and he was like, "Hey, do you want to in? Like, do you want to like sue these people?" And Sam was just like, "You know what? Nah, that's not my thing. I did not get into racing to get in a whole bunch of fights." And it was pretty cool because Smokey was like, "You know what, Sam? Me too." And so they just decided that yes, they totally got the bum end of the deal. However, like in life, you win some, you lose some. That's racing.
That's
exactly.
racing. Yes.
And so they decided not to be like dramatic about it, not to make a big deal about it, not to complain, and just move forward. And I like that too, because it's like, man, sometimes like things happen to me and I'm like, why? And it's like, it's only my fault. Like it only makes things worse for me when I play victim with myself. because that holds me back from like looking at ways to move forward, you know? So I really
talking
love
about good people.
that's good people.
And you spend a lot of money. There's the Indy car.
Oh, thanks, Fungal Spore. Welcome.
Yes.
Sorry.
Well, no. There's the Indy. To go to Indy, you don't even.
That's Ralph Johnson, the tall guy.
It's
Ralph.
And to go to Indy takes tons of money.
Oh,
I mean, just tons of money. You don't go build something in your shop, ground, up front, the bottom. You're taking a Chevy V8. You're all this money, and you got to get sponsors to give you money to help you get there.
Oh yeah, he talks about that. Ralph and I would work until like 2 a.m. getting ready for the brand new deal tomorrow at 9 a.m. So they would work till 2 a.m. to be there by 9. That means they got 4 hours of sleep maybe.
And then you get ran. So the thing would be to sue. That way we're going to win. We get our money back.
Yep.
Or that's racing. That's just.
Scott 007 says the pictures in the book are so cool. I know. I love them so much, and I love putting faces to all these names, because especially for someone like me that I didn't grow up anywhere close to this time. I'm only 35, so a lot of these things, it's like when he was winning races, it was before my mother was born. So being able to put 2 and 2 together and see, be able to see all these characters. Let's show another picture. I love these. If you don't have the books, by the way, look at that's
Smokey was just such a good looking guy. I mean, I'm just,
No, he totally was. Look at him.
And he knew it.
A jerk.
And he knew.
Yeah.
I didn't get that. I guess he did. I don't know.
He totally knew
he
it.
can't be.
Yeah,
He's a man's man. As obviously was a woman's man too.
Yeah.
From some of his reading, one would surmise that yes, he liked all kinds of stuff.
Yeah, he liked
He had his style. Oh, and he had a style.
Oh.
The hat. He took Stephanie took a hat, but this was his deal. He made that happen. It's just his style.
That's a real Smokey hat.
This is a real Smokey hat. It's the Crane Cam edition with Smokey Yunick special edition that they were going to do that disappeared for a while when Crane Cams and Smokey disappeared. But it is of course you're not going to find Smokey's personal hat. Trish has one, and there's the one in the Smithsonian Institute. But as for a actual Smokey hat that supposedly at one time was going to be sold, and then that case just disappeared. And where did we find eBay? There was
so Tanny found those Smokey Yunick hats on eBay.
Anyway, and I've talked it before because the only problem is that I end up creating more bidders against the Smokey memorabilia. Because I'm telling everybody, they're like, no, you're kidding.
Don't go out and bid on Smokey stuff. If you find Smokey stuff on eBay, just send Danny links.
The link, and
then Danny will get it, and it'll be fine.
And I don't buy it all. If I already have one or something, I even though I want everyone, I don't just remove it all from
We're surrounded by
existence.
a Smokey museum right now, so
he didn't want a museum. There's Father Robert's car though, but that was for the Smokey family. So.
Oh, okay. Well, so he did not want a museum.
Anyway, sorry I went on that.
No, oh God, you're fine. Go on all the tangents. That's what book club is all about. Because anyone can pick up the book and read the book. But I like digesting the book and talking about the book with y'all. David says, "Oh my God, he's older than Faye's mom." I think my mom was born in 1960. So if I'm correct with that, yeah, it was 1960. But anyway, so another thing that I noticed about Smokey's character in this chapter, and also let me know what are the things, let us know in the comments, because we're looking at you up here on the phone, which is a little bit small, but what you can't see is that down here we've got, well, now you can see it because Danny's about to show you. We can see all your comments big. So if there's anything that you want to share about the chapter and what it taught you about Smokey, or if there's anything about his character that really that stood out to you, then that'd be really cool. Give us your feedback.
And if there's something that we missed that's really cool, Shop Mom doesn't miss that, and she lets us know.
Oh yeah, Shop Mom. So, for sure.
We've been adding some technology. So.
Yeah. And another thing that Danny and I have been talking about, just with our YouTube channels and stuff, is especially on a couple of videos that I made recently, was just talking about when things don't go as planned, and showing some of the failures, not necessarily putting yourself down, because I think negative self-talk is really bad no matter what, even if it's just inside of your own head, but just owning up to your own mistakes And that's something that I've really taken a lesson from in this book, where Smokey just really like owns up to all of his mistakes. Actually talks about how a car that he built might have been like the make or break for one of the younger guys' careers. How the car that he built sort of failed on Mario Andretti of all, because I think it didn't turn something like that.
Cars, didn't handle with the down. It had more power than but he probably could have worked a little bit better on the suspension.
And it didn't get him down. He kept on going. Like, he didn't let any of his failures define him. And I'm just like, ugh.
A failure doesn't mean you're a failure.
Right.
It just gives you a chance to become better. To me, it's like I'm self-taught. So if you fail at something and you learn from it, that's a learning experience.
It's cool.
So it's not a failure.
Yeah.
You're not a failure.
Right.
You now it gives you a chance to dissect something that you did to find out, why did it fail? Okay, I over-torqued it. I didn't torque it enough for something. Awesome. If you've learned from that, you'll never happen again.
Or an inherent flaw in the vehicle. There's a lot of inherent flaws here in the vehicle.
It's all knowledge. Yeah. You can't be mad at knowledge. If you're mad at knowledge, then you're just one of those people that want to be patted on the back all the time. It doesn't work that way.
No.
we say this daily when we're building an engine. You know why it takes so long? You think every part fits out of the box? On this AMC, which is an AMC, it's a 390 AMC. These parts aren't available especially right now with the shortages and stuff. The main bearing, the center main bearing, did not have the tang for it. Okay, a lot of the new manufacturers now are going tangless. We'll talk about that. This thing had a tang.
Make a video about it.
Yeah, this thing had a tang originally, and I wasn't gonna just put it in tangless. I would rather put in the old bearing. I have the old bearings in there, still a standard crank. Well, it stopped us. It was a day right there just trying to figure out. And the amazing thing was, I went and looked at the new old stock that we have on the shelf, because we can now start an eBay store, and I go, and I look at the part number, and we had them in stock, new old stock.
Oh.
They're Clevite bearings. I opened the package up. They have tangs in them.
Oh, thank goodness.
Everybody thinks it's just so easy to open a box and put it in. No. Daily we open stuff, and it's like, you can accept it and go, no, my uncle used to always say, the guy that works underneath that tree over there, that shade tree guy, he might get away with it. We're professionals. Anything that you don't know, it's going to work. We never maybes anything.
Well, yeah, but like there was a lot of maybes that happened here in the field, because a lot of the stuff that they were doing sometimes on race day, or like in between races in the hotel rooms, like they were doing some cutting edge stuff. And some of that cutting edge stuff is what sort of kept Smokey in the game for so long, because there were some advancements made in technology that ended up Smokey said, like, that saved lives. Eventually, as we remember from earlier in this chapter, like Smokey talked about how there hit a point where he noticed that it was causing more harm than good, and they were no longer adding to the automotive industry anymore. But there's something about the tires.
The tire technology
got better.
Smokey felt that he was guilty, especially with Fireball. He was guilty because they were stock cars, and his thing was to make more power. And he obviously, every car that he set, and I use the word every, maybe not everyone, but the percentage was right high up there, always set the pole. Pretty much always set the pole. Everything was always extremely fast. There wasn't a problem with power, but then he started having to.
But as we saw, like he talked about how
the suspension,
the
tires,
steering.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and this was like, they got money from sponsors. Here we go again, talking about sponsors. But no, it's true. It's like racing is extremely expensive. And a lot of times the money was from the tire manufacturers, and they were just like testing this stuff. So it's like, especially like Goodyear, I think, and Firestone were the main ones. And they just came out with this new tire technology, and they would pay somebody to run them. And that was like their proving grounds. And so like, imagine you being the driver and knowing that these tires are untested, and they're gonna pop at some point.
The Hudson Hornet, which was amazing, because I'd never heard of it. He thought that was one of the best cars ever built. And then they started to race this thing, making more power, going faster. When he found out the weak link was the rear end, and the
whole
tires
rear end would fall out.
would break, and the tires would come off. The difference of the Hudson Hornet, it didn't have fenders; it had fender skirts or whatever, so that the tire was inside of the car. So when the tire would break loose, it'd stay in the car, and then actually would flip the car, and it would be deadly, as opposed to flying out of the car and then dropping down. So you have to learn these things. Well, he made so much power that he couldn't keep the tires on the rear end. So yes, everything had to leap and bound just to keep up with Smokey. That's why the rule books had to leap and bound to keep up with Smokey.
Right, and that's why people think that Smokey was a cheater, and we've addressed this many times. I go back and forth on whether I believe that he actually cheated. When I compare him to everyone else, I think Smokey mentions that was it Curtis or AJ that someone had considered AJ Foyt. What a crazy character too. We've got to touch on him, who people considered a cheater, and he was like, well, no, he just. At some point, everyone's doing defensive cheating because you've got to be able to keep up with the rest of them. And, if everyone's just cheating if everyone's cheating, 10%, you've got to do a little teeny bit in order to just
I've done a lot of circle track engines for different people.
Yeah.
And if you follow the rule books, you'll be 5th place. I mean, and you spend a lot of money and you follow the rule book and you build the best engine by the rules. You're going to be the ones that are 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. They're doing. I don't necessarily consider it cheating. They're looking outside of the rules that it doesn't say that you can't, because when you got sponsors and you're paying a lot of money to do this, it does you. I tell everybody, it does you no good to win the race and then get disqualified. None. You might as well. Just not even, you know what I mean? Yeah, that's
worse.
That's a disgrace.
Yes.
Oh, you're awesome for a restaurant on your car or whoever, especially if you're ground route racing. Everybody loves to race. You got to put a sponsor because somebody has to pay for your tires and fuel. You go out there. That restaurant, whoever sponsors you, doesn't want to go out there and see the car at the last thing.
Yeah.
But they want to see the car on the track. So going out there and being all whoopty-whoopty, going really fast, and then hitting the wall or not finishing the race because the engine doesn't last is wrong. You got to be there on the track. But you also got to be there. They want to see you up in front. Well, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, I can tell you, those guys are doing stuff that are, I'm not calling it cheating, but they're
bending the rules. The creative interpretation of the rules.
Yes, they all are. There's no way that you can. There's just no way. Just remember Toyota at Indy. I mean, there's just no way. Or I actually was in NASCAR, but we won't go there. So
are we about to offend my face?
No. No, I'm just saying.
No.
You just everybody has to. If you follow the rules, which you should be following the rules, like I said, because it doesn't matter if you win 1st place and you get disqualified. That you have nothing. You have nothing. So you got to make sure that I'd rather finish 3rd or 4th every time, consistent, and go through tech. Because if you finish 3rd or 4th, I tell everybody, finish 3rd or 4th every single weekend. When it comes to the last race of the season, you're going to be there for the points race. You're going to be there's going to be a chance. And some of these yahoos with a lot of money can't finish the season. So just hang in there. But yes, you don't have to win 1st every single race to win a championship. You don't have to win 1st every single race.
Well, that's the thing about points too, which is why these guys are working so hard and around the clock. It's you sort of had to show up to every single race. But I want to acknowledge some of the comments here. Occam Razor says bias ply tires couldn't keep up, and I wanted to touch on that because there was. That's a really good point because I remember reading at some point. Here we go on page 190 under the Daryl Derringer chapter. Did I say that right, or is it Derringer?
Derringer. Don't ask me how to pronounce
okay. So Daryl finally landed in Bud Moore's car, a Mercury, I think, and they made a good team, a very formidable competitor every week. Daryl stuck his bass out a mile and did the test driving necessary to develop the inner liner tire concept, which is still used today. And there is no way to guess how many serious injuries and or deaths that work avoided. And he goes on to talk about how Daryl did a lot more testing for Goodyear. But yeah, that's a really good point, Occam Razor, because I wanted because that is something where I think Smokey
Yes, but he was doing the liner for the fuel tank with Firestone that he got DQ'd for doing.
Yep. And then Kelsey also made a good comment that I want to read. I like how he advocates for the people that the people and the sport. So many men died or got injured to innovate and improve the safety features that we now have. And that's true too, just like you were saying with the fuel tanks and the liners, and how we're allowed to relocate fuel tanks now and make fuel cells in the back. That was not.
That's why he left NASCAR.
Yes.
That's why he left NASCAR, and we won't get into anything else. But ask yourself why.
No, that's on page 172. That's on page 172. When he had told Fireball Roberts that it was time for him to quit. Was like, you know what, your time is up. Fireball got a little mad at him, and then eventually came back and said, you know what, Smokey, you're right. I do have a problem going fast. This is going to be my final season. by the way, I'm marrying your sister-in-law. So Fireball Roberts was about to be in the family. And then what happened? One race too many.
Yep.
That, I think it was like that weekend after they had that conversation.
It's the fuel tank.
The fuel tank
burst,
got him.
Fuel. Yep. The same thing he was trying to do is to put a bladder in the fuel tank.
Yep.
So that, because the tanks were actually 2-piece tanks. They were stock cars.
Yeah.
They took the windshields out. I remember, I love these old videos. You watch these old videos, and it's a low bench seat.
Yeah.
A cigar, a hat.
And they're like dressed
they're using
all nice.
the cigarette lighter from the dash, lighting the cigar. I mean, great. These, and now they've been able to enhance the video so that the shaking. I've seen some of these videos before, but you can't see anything in it. Now the video enhancement is so awesome. The old videos are really. They had a metal dash, and you know why they got rid of metal dashes? They put a pad on the dash, because
people were hitting them.
Yes.
Well,
a metal dash makes no sense.
Investment.
But a 57 Chevy had a metal dash.
Yeah. You know? Oh my gosh, I really love what's happening in the chats right now. Akin Razor says Toyota cheated for real, big time in rally racing. Ooh.
I knew you were gonna catch that one.
I didn't mean to go there. I didn't
know. I know, because they weren't very active in rally. I mean, you think you think original rally, you think like original Group B. I see someone mention the Lancia. I'm a big fan of the Lancia Delta. It's like on my bucket list of cars I want to own someday. I mean, we all think of like Audi, you know, but I never really think about Toyota.
Right.
I mean, I can't even picture what they had for rally racing, but anyways.
Did you see the new Rally Supra? I think I saw it from you.
I posted. Someone made a Mark 5 Supra into her.
Okay, so one of the comments that you missed that I want to bring up is Kelsey Bailey.
Yes.
Hi, Kelsey.
I read one of hers.
Did you see it? I like how he advocates for the people and the sport.
Yep.
Yes.
And that's really what all of those changes that Smokey wanted to bring to the fore were about. How to make it safer for people.
Exactly.
You know, it's gone are the days when you could ride on a milk crate in the side of a van.
Oh my God.
Gone are the days when we used to ride in the back of a truck.
I still see that around here, but
this is Texas, so
those
days are gone.
WRC. Yep. Thank you.
Yeah, you see a lot of things in Texas you might not see anywhere else.
Oh, and this is a really great comment too from David Johnson, which we've talked about in this book. Actually, I think the last live stream that we did, David Johnson mentioned how he says that he wishes that that Toyota would use the real factory engines now in NASCAR. No one does. In fact, that was one of Smokey's points at the end about how angry he was that it's like, yeah, you're going out there.
It's a spec chassis.
It's a spec yeah. You're going out there in a Ford, but like, do you see that engine anywhere or like whatever?
This year they're now starting to put the body back to where, because before the bodies were all the same and you had the different decal.
Yeah, so you can't even tell the difference.
Yeah,
anymore.
So this year remember they're now putting the spec body back where you get to actually see the actual car again.
Yeah, no, definitely. I don't know if it was.
I'm not sure about the center lug nut. This isn't Formula One. It's supposed to be NASCAR.
I don't like
5 lugs. Come on.
I don't like the center lug.
Right?
Nut.
I mean, I agree with.
Also, because most of them torque to like way over 200 foot-pounds, like 300 foot-pounds, and like you see the torque ranges that come with those things, like that Porsche.
Did you see the tires come off in the very first race?
Oh my God! Yes, I did. Yeah, because they don't know how to torque them.
It's not Formula One, people.
Torque
You know, I think Smokey would be exactly that. Keep all that over there. He didn't mind all of that stuff. Not in NASCAR. It's supposed to be a stock car. He thought that the manufacturers should learn from the racing and make the car safer. What he said, a driver can hit the wall at 200 miles an hour and survive, and then a housewife can hit the wall at 40 miles an hour and die. Right. And he didn't understand why you can save it. Like I said, they weren't taking the technologies of everything and putting them into regular cars, and he thought they should have.
Well, absolutely, yeah. I mean, there was some safety advances that he made that we covered in this chapter. One of them, I think, was welding, and he made that Heliarc machine. He made his first. Mm-hmm. Was it the first?
I don't know if it was the first, if he invented the Heliarc, but I remember he made his own.
Yeah, he made his own Heliarc machine.
And Indy wasn't even using Heliarc.
They were not.
They were doing gas welding.
Yes.
They were brazing.
And that was the standard at that time. And so Smokey sort of like fought them on that. And
because his Indy car had to pass spec.
Yeah.
And it was all TIG welded. It was Heliarc welded. That's right. You're very good.
Well, I thought it was really cool because like that goes to show how sometimes Smokey did bend the rules, but it ended up changing the rules in a positive way so that, like, I don't know, I think that's a better welding method
Well, yeah,
for a lot of parts of the body.
and after that, everything is now is TIG welded. Everything is heliarc welded. But at that time when he showed up,
that's
you're
because
exactly
of
right. Yes, yes.
But also, I wanted to mention, just because we were briefly talking about AJ Foyt, which was really, really interesting part of the chapter. There was a few things that I wanted to make note of. Just things that we were talking about with, like, Smokey's, things he noticed about in people. I know we've mentioned this before, but, like, talking about the black hole. I'm on page 199. Like, when I was looking, when I was just reading something that, like, from Banjo. In this chapter, we saw Smokey, like, bring up the black hole idea, where you sort of get yourself into this place where you're stuck in it, and no one else really notices that you're stuck in it, but you're sort of, like, holding yourself in this place with your own rules or your own stubbornness. So he brings up a lot of situations throughout the careers of these famous racers, even if only famous to him, where they sort of kept on falling into the black hole. But I also wanted to, like, sort of point that out, because we've got some. And then Shot Mom is making a granite, you can't see, but you wish you could. What else was I gonna say? And
that's actually a good point. Don't fall into that black hole.
Yeah.
A lot of us, including us, it's easy to get into the black hole. We want to self-doubt. We want to just, and social media is the worst thing.
God, it's the worst
place. And like we said earlier, you touched on the part. We leave in our videos something that we find for the reason. It might help somebody to go, I'm not the only one that can't put a cam bearing in, or I'm not the only one that has screwed up a freeze plug, or I'm not the only one, and they're down on themselves. But if you see somebody else, you're not the only one. You think you're the only one that's ever broken a tap, and you know who I'm talking about. I'm just kidding.
But the point being, I don't know if she's watching it in school right now. I think she is. But point being, though, it's like, you don't have to be the master of anything to just, like, move forward with it. As I put out a video before this one about, like, I did a little welding project. I am not the world's best welder, but that's not going to stop me from trying and learning. So, like,
and tomorrow you'll be better than you were today.
Of course
you just keep doing it.
And
So
Brandon will be better.
Oh yeah, Brandon's at home welding right now, so good for him. I'm excited. But that was also, like, you know what? So we ended this chapter with or this reading section with Banjo Matthews, and I sort of want to end the stream with him. So don't let me forget to come back, because it was like, after reading that chapter, I actually just, like, I got goosebumps as I was closing the book, and I was like, wow, that was such a good chapter to end on. But there was something. So looks like we're ending very soon. We've got a few more. We got a few more minutes, so we'll do that. So I'll come back to Banjo, but a few more things I wanted to hit on what Smokey saw as, like, good character. I'm just sort of watching everybody. Occam Razor, you totally have to buy the books. Danny, put a link in the description of this video when you're done about where to buy the books. We get them from Carbon Press. It's the cheapest place to get it, and it also supports the Yunick family.
Because I love eBay, but Trish was Carbon Press, which is
it's cheaper.
Trish Yunick.
It's cheaper than eBay anyway.
And she may still have some of the ones that have the smell of smoke. The shop burnt. There's a fire, and there's a bunch of them that are perfectly good, but they may smell a little bit like smoke. And we've actually had people comment back that I opened it up and I could smell the smoke in there. So I would kind of rather have one of those that actually came from Trish Yunick, which is Smokey's daughter. So that's going to the family, which is good. Not that they need that, but I'm saying that's the best place to buy them. It's way cheaper. You can buy them from there and put them on eBay. Anyway.
We do love our eBay.
We could do. We could do more eBay. But another thing, who is he talking about here? I'm on page 197. It was Joe. Who's talking? Joe had a rough life. Joe Leonard. Okay. So Joe Leonard was a good driver and a man. Okay. So he was talking about how Joe hurt himself, and he's, like, to this day, or, like, to this day then, he was still sort of, like, limping around last he saw him. But Joe had a rough life, but he is always the same. Even now he sees just the good stuff and forgets all the bad shit. I'm real glad that I got to race with him and know a little something about Jose. I learned from Joe. Most of it was what not to do, but Joe and I are still friends. So I like that because there's like a little bit of a moral of the story at the end of every little chapter where he talks about each one of these individual people, and I like that because he talks about, you know, some of the problems that Joe had throughout this chapter. Some bad driving that he did, some bad there was a whole, what was it, 1969 was the official Cluck Joe Leonard year. Everyone hated him because he made some mistakes and forgot some verbal contracts that he had made with some tire manufacturers, and so pretty much got blacklisted. So Smokey's like, well, perfect time for me to find a new racer. Like, he needed to find a new driver, and Joe was available. No one wanted him because he was, you know, pretty much blacklisted from everywhere. But you know, that didn't stop Smokey. Smokey still accepted him into the family anyway.
Always gave you a second chance.
Always give you a second chance. That's which I loved. And even after knowing that about his failed contract, still offered him a contract. So it was really interesting. By the way, Danny's getting a notification that he's winning a bit on eBay. So good for you.
There's never an end to the eBay.
There's never an end. eBay needs to sponsor our live streams. Okay, so I really liked that part. There was another part that
and
I wanted
Leonard
to mention.
was we're talking about the his IndyCar. Smokey wanted, you know, he left NASCAR and just really loved IndyCar. I think that and then you know what happened with IndyCar as well. But he loved going fast. He loved cutting edge. He's the only one that's taken a Chevy V8 pushrod motor to Indy, and in 1961. With a Chevy pushrod motor.
That's pretty cool.
And now all Indy cars have a wing on it. He's the first person to ever put a wing on a car and go to Indy. And he got laughed at until it went faster. So it didn't go faster on the top end, but it got a faster timer on the track.
I meant to mention this as well too. How, like, if someone ever like came up and apologized to Smokey, he was just like, all was forgiven. There's this one guy on page 186 I'm reading off of. Okay, Dwayne Carter. Although this is like tangent central, so I want to make sure that I'm making sure. Indy Frank. So I don't know. Okay, so Frank. Frank had 1 million fans. Which one is Frank? I'm missing this. The Dwayne Carter chapter, he goes all over the place, and it's a little bit hard. You've gotta get used to how Smokey writes. At first, it takes a little while to figure out. So someone's asking, what book is this? This is the second book in the Smokey Yunick autobiography trilogy. And this is All Right, You Sons of Ships. Let's have a race. And we'll link to this one. And Cesar is noticing that there are no hostages today, so we're very grateful for no hostages.
Hey.
They just haven't found us.
They haven't found us. They'll find us. They'll find us. There are some hostages every now and then that are strapped down against our will and forced to watch our live streams, and we always feel sorry for them. Anyway, not really. Okay. One day at Indy, Frank came by and introduced me to his son and daughter, and said to me, "Smoke, the feud is over. You were right. The front end wasn't worth a ship. Let's be friends." Took one heck of a man to do that. Sure made me feel good. From that day, Frank had 1,000,001 fans. Shortly after that, Frank's health failed and he left us. So what I love about that is Smokey and Frank were partnered on that car for a while, and Smokey gave it a lot of power, but there was something about the design, and it was he just couldn't get it on the track, and he criticized the design of it, and criticized it pretty harshly. This is page 186 that I'm did.
And on 187, it just talks about the Heliarch.
Yes, the Heliarch.
He had a drunken friend. There was an electrical genius, a professor on a drunk leave from the university. So maybe it was invented in Smokey Shop.
Oh, it might have been.
Who knows what it said? Well, there's actually a chapter. It wasn't. Oh, that's the last book. It's his inventions. It wasn't invented here. All the different things that weren't invented there.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's a great book. That's the last of our three.
That's the last of our three.
And you're like, if you'll ever get through this one,
we can get through
all the inventions.
We're speaking of. Okay, we're coming up. We've got like 5 minutes left. So let's I do kind of. I want to sort of end on Banjo Matthews, and let's keeping with the idea of the moral of the story, he introduces a lot of these folks with their backgrounds, and I feel like every little bit of background that he includes is really I like the things that he chooses to point out about people. And I think that the moral that he has about Banjo starts out talking about like the gas station kid that likes to go fast. You know, you would have liked Banjo. He was as common as dirt, worked his bass off, and had good manners. And talked about how he had no high school education, didn't go to college. However, he was extremely smart. And I really, I like that. He talked a little bit about 1940.
And he was very good, Benjamin, with suspension wise.
Yes.
Suspension wise. So I can tell, I could see how Smokey would get along with him. I mean, Manuel Matthews from back in the day, I remember that's who did the suspensions for any of the fastest cars.
And there's Banjo in the middle there with the big, thick glasses, which adorable. He said Banjo eventually became a very good engine builder. Actually, he could do anything that there was to do at the highest level of stock car racing there was. He was a successful car owner until he hooked up with AJ Foyt. I really believe AJ took 5 years off Banjo's life, and 2 or 3 years they raced together, although Banjo said it was more like 10. We all considered Banjo a chassis wizard. He was, but only on the Ford chassis as developed by Holman and Moody. Matter of fact, his stubborn refusal to go from rear steer to front steer about destroyed his business and his reputation. To which I actually highlighted that and said, oh, black hole. Because after Smokey sort of introduced the concept of the black hole, you see him sort of circle back over and over again to point out all the shortcomings of these people. And it had nothing to do with their talent or their intelligence. A lot of times it had to do with like their own getting in their own way in that case. So
I like what he says. He couldn't drink worth the ship. I always said he couldn't get laid in a warehouse with a credit card.
Oh, that you can tell our creative use of words, since we don't want to get kicked off of YouTube. So
yes.
if you want to see the full like raw version of the Smokey books that are not bleeped out by us,
and there's actually a dictionary in the book. Remember
yes.
the words.
Yes.
There's a dictionary of the words that are used in this book.
Some of them are pretty.
It may not be considered politically correct today, but Smokey wanted to just use the language that was used then.
Yes.
So he wasn't condoning any of it. He wanted you to
understand what was going on at the time.
What words they use, what language they use, what they did. Like I said, he wasn't glorifying drinking. None of that stuff. They just what happened, and he's telling you how it was.
Yeah, and you have to like, when you read these books, like there are some like, I guess you call them like racial slurs, but it like that would be not considered okay today. But like at the time, those were like sort of friendly terms. Like it was different back then. People didn't really get offended by those things. It was more just like, yeah, like, there's the Italian people, like, they're the Mexican people. They're like, whatever, like they all had their names and
he uses the names. So.
And it was normal. Like no one got offended. So talking about like about Banjo's connection with AJ, if you've had a chance to read the AJ Foyt part, what an interesting guy. And back to the idea of like things that Smokey likes and Smokey did not like. In my world, I don't like braggarts. I just like quiet cats who don't run their mouths and just do it. And so he's talking about his first his introduction to AJ, because AJ is coming in being like, I'm gonna dominate this, and he's like, all right, well, just don't tell me you're gonna do it, just do it, and then tell me about it later, pretty much.
And AJ's bigger than life.
I disagree terribly, David Johnson. I'm almost offended that you said that Smokey reminds you of Elon Musk. I hate Elon Musk.
Who said that?
David Johnson. I cannot stand Elon Musk.
I recognize a genius in different people.
He's not a genius. He's a
social skills.
You're getting it all riled up. I don't know.
Oh, I'm not an Elon Musk fan, so let's not even go there. I think he's pure evil. But anyway.
Okay, well, we have to wrap up because it is Friday and Brandon is at home unattended with the welder.
Brandon is at home unattended with the welder. He's at home, yeah. No, it's okay, David. It's okay, David. I'm totally messing with you. But it's true. I do not like Elon Musk. Okay, so at the end of this chapter where we stopped at, he was sort of talking about Banjo, who did eventually pass away, and how hard Smokey had worked to make sure that people understood the history that Banjo had with Indy and with NASCAR, and eventually got him inducted into the Indy Hall of Fame International Motorsports Hall of Fame in April of 1998. He says, Banjo, I hope they have air-conditioned suites where you are, Banjo, and you can watch what you've helped create. I feel good about knowing how much we admired you before you left. I'm done trying to get the world to know you now. What the heck good would it do now? You finally got put in the International Motorsports Hall of Fame in April 1998, 18 months too late. I helped install Banjo in the Darlington Hall of Fame and got him awarded the Champion Buddy Schumann Award at NASCAR's Victory Banquet in '97. Also, we awarded him the Smokey Yunick Life Achievement Award at Charlotte. Maybe you knew how I felt about you and it helped. I hope so. Gave me a little bit of chills. Yeah. So that's how we ended this chapter of reading. So speaking of ending this chapter of reading, we ended on page 199. If you have this version of the book, don't forget, if you're one of those people that like reading on your phone or your Kindle or whatever, there's also a digital version you can buy. It's a little bit cheaper on the website. And then also, just make sure that you know where we're starting and stopping, because sometimes the books can be a little bit different if you're reading online versus if you're reading the actual paper book. I've got the paper copy, and Danny has the hard copy. So we ended on page 199 with the Banjo Matthews little subchapter here. We're going to pick it up with Ralph Moody, and we're going to read to page 256. So we're going to stop at Dear Bill. I know that sounds like a lot of reading, and it is, but Danny and my schedules are freaking insane for like the next month or so. So our next book club is going to be May 27th. So 527. It's almost 529, which is my Toyota employee ID number, but I'm not going to get you guys confused. 527. May 27th. We will see you once again here on Danny's Trip. No! You lost the bid. It got away. Large lot of assorted machinist tools. Oh, no! He lost the bid on eBay. Bummer. Okay, so sorry. So we're reading up to the chapter Dear Bill. And also, like, just note that while Smokey does make references to like some earlier parts of the book, like it's not necessarily either in chronological order. So if you're just joining us now and you want to pick up and you want to start in the middle of this chapter and start reading at Ralph Moody, like there's really no problem with that. I think you'll get a gist for the book pretty quickly. Smokey's obviously quite a character, and he sort of circles back to previous references that he's made and sort of like continuously keeps you looped in.
He'll mention a part of a story that has to do with this chapter, and it brings it in. And 5 chapters later, or in a different book, you'll go, well, he already told the story, but he's adding more to the story to tell you this. So you'll end up reading the same story several different times, but totally in a different reference. It all still, he's not just repeating himself, because if you go read it, he'll actually give you a little more insight to this part of the story. It's really cool. Yeah. It's really cool.
So please join us. So we will see you again for our next live stream for Automotive Book Club on the 28th. We may throw in another random, like unanticipated, unplanned live stream at some point in between.
Because we love spontaneity.
We do
let's talk about Smoky Friday or something.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah. I'm sure. Like I did a random spontaneous live stream when you guys were gone in the shop.
And let's remember that we have international guests.
Yes,
that's right.
And we appreciate the heck out of you guys.
Yes,
Terry, thanks for being here. Pachanga Friday.
Yes.
We missed you.
Here. I mean, Sylvania in the house.
Sylvania in the house.
Wow. Oh my gosh. Yeah. That is so cool.
Love our group. Really love our group.
We love y'all. Thanks for making it over to this channel.
For real.
And join us. And we're back. This is
I like seeing all the new faces and the new participants too. Occam Razor, I hope you get the book and I hope you join. Aaron Schall, and J. Scott V.
Thank you, James. We'll see you probably Monday.
Yes, we love seeing you guys. We love seeing the regulars. I feel like we're part of like a little happy little Smokey Yunick family. So we always love to see you, and we always love to welcome in new people that want to be part of the Smokey Yunick family. So
lawnmower put.
Oh, what?
Hit the like button. David Johnson promises it won't hit back.
Amazing. Love you guys. Thank you so much much for joining us.
Hit the like and the subscribe so you'll know, and the notification one so
hit
you'll
the
know.
notification button, folks.
All right. Well, it's your phone this time.
And it's a wrap.
We're done. It's a wrap.